Hello.
Hello, welcome to Together We Mix.
Yeah, Together We Mix. And
I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. It's Good Friday, and we wanted, while the kids were away, we wanted to share. We love cooking, and we love cooking together. And we decided to do Easter with a bit of a twist.
So we've got some exciting couple of Easter bun recipes for your viewing pleasure. Deb is doing a Bailey's inspired chocolate chocolate hot cross bun, and I'm doing I'm calling mine Fiesta buns. And what's exciting, Deb, is that they are both gluten free and dairy free. So not vegan, but they are dairy free. So we're really excited about this.
Probably could have, if we had more time, kind of worked out how to do it vegan, but we just wanted to have a bit of fun, and forever Easter's always about the kids, and let's make it about us, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And
I'm sure the kids are having fun no matter where they are anyway.
I just find my kids do not like store-bought gluten-free buns at all.
It's not funny.
It's disgusting. There's a lot of nasties in them too, lots of sugars, and as like a nutrition coach, etc., I really want to ensure that I'm using good quality products when we're coming to cooking, and budget friendly is a big plus. And do you want to elaborate?
I was going to say, you've already talked about how you've already made your own gluten-free flour. So we are using a gluten-free flour mix that they made up earlier today, and you can see that in another video. But just looking at the cost of that, I mean, gluten-free stuff is not always cheap, but you can make it quite cheaply if you're prepared to just use your Thermomix. It's just incredible.
Like
the amount of savings.
If you didn't see, it was literally I looked today up the local shop, and it was going to cost me $11 for 800 grams of brown rice flour, and I managed to get 2 bags at 750. So that's what, 1,500 grams. So an extra 500 grams for $9 of organic brown rice.
And then just blitz it up, mill it up in your Thermomix, and you know how fresh it is as well.
The freshness, and before we start cooking, particularly my recipe, because it's actually adapted, and I'm going to actually show you the book that I've adapted it from. This is by Cherie Liddon. It's gluten-free baking made simple, and it's the founder of the Whole Green Bakery. So somewhere in Australia is this amazing, apparently famous gluten-free bakery, and they've created a cookbook. And I've just taken their gluten-free flour and their gluten-free hot cross bun recipe and just adapted and changed. And anybody who's followed me previously, prior to us teaming up, we've always been into adapting recipes and showing you how easy it is, and don't be scared.
Even I did it today for my Fiesta buns, and if I can do it, anybody can. So you're fine.
Yeah, and with flour, it's asking for it sifted. Now, if you've actually just made your flour, there's really no need to sift it, because you sift it when you're actually making up your batch of flour. So we can shortcut that recipe. But also another savings that we made, Matt, was in regards to the sugar component in your recipe.
Yeah, so mine calls for caster sugar. Now, there's no point in buying a whole lot of different kinds of sugar, although we use quite a lot of unrefined sugar in our diet, such as coconut sugar.
Yeah,
that's probably our staples, and as well as maple syrup. They're pretty much our unrefined sugars. But for this particular recipe, it did use for caster sugar. So rather than buying a big pack of caster sugar, which I'm never ever probably going to use again, raw sugar, we will use raw sugar from time to time anyway. And then if you just mill that up in your Thermomix as well, you've got raw sugar and you've got caster sugar, and you don't have to go and buy a whole different.
And this is the one thing they always teach you at a Thermomix demo when they make sorbet, is the preservatives that are added to make it not harm. But here's the thing that probably Matt doesn't realise. When I have a recipe that calls for caster sugar, I just mill my coconut sugar to a caster sugar consistency.
So you can do that.
So definitely
that's
can do
something
that.
to do with that. Maybe next Easter I'll use coconut
Yeah,
sugar.
yeah. So our first steps are pretty much similar
Yeah,
in.
you talked about your recipe.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't really spoken about my recipe.
You talk about yours before that mine.
Okay. All right. So I actually made, and I've got to say, I've made different versions of dairy-free Baileys before. And I will say that I used the one from the Alexandra because it looked quick and easy and it was easy for me to find. However, it probably doesn't lean to my favourite, I'll be honest. But I'm using it in cooking, so it's neither here or there. So I think it's a good one to go to if you're just wanting to use it in cooking, okay? I personally didn't use soy milk. I won't use soy milk. So I did a little, like a quarter of coconut milk and 3/4 of almond milk. And the reason, and I really wanted to do hazelnuts, but we'd run out of hazelnuts. We couldn't find hazelnuts, couldn't find hazelnut milk. So personally, I would prefer to have done that. But I used the almond milk, and the reason I put in like a quarter instead of all almond milk of coconut milk is to give it that creamy, but not being too coconut in flavour.
Yep.
Now, going into mine, we've noticed, because obviously we had to do a dough beforehand, which if you've seen our socials, you'll see. Matt's have risen so beautifully. I'm a little bit envious because he's a looking like.
Your eyes are green.
Like I am. We have a little bit of competitive streak between the two of us. However, we realised I didn't have my Baileys out enough in time for it to be room temperature, so that really impacted the way that it incorporates and for the rising. And the other thing too is I'm using a very strong spirit in mine, where he's got that
great Australian spirit, I might add.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen, Matt, do you want to talk about now your
recipe?
Yeah.
So the recipe that I've used is from a UK cook called Becky Excel. Some of you might be familiar with her. She's been called the Queen of gluten-free by no less than Nigella Lawson. So that's pretty good accreditation. So I've actually taken her hot cross bun recipe and I've actually adapted it. And to make it the adult version, to keep it also gluten-free, I have used I've used this gluten-free stout in my recipe, and it's just because it's got the chocolate and the coffee notes, which I think would be really nice in the hot cross buns. However, you could use an IPA, or you could use a hazy, or you could use a session ale, and it doesn't have to be gluten-free. It depends on your preference, of course. But I think the beer has really helped the dough prove. They are sitting like, they are gorgeous.
And take them around to the camera, Matt, because I'm really envious of not being gluten-free.
No, these are insane. These have been proving probably about
straight to Matt, so they can see.
So you can see.
Upwards like that, so they can see.
So you can see how much.
You're white.
Yeah, so you can see how deep the container is.
So you can see how much they're.
Yeah, I am so impressed with those. I'm really impressed, and hopefully they taste all right as well. So they've been proving probably about the last 2 hours, I reckon now. 1.5. Yeah, 2 hours. So they've just been sitting outside. So really, really happy with those.
And I'm going to show you, I've got some already cooking at the moment while we're doing the demonstration, but my batch did a lot more than Matt's. I ended up doing 18. And at first I was a little bit disappointed because the weather had dropped a little bit by the time we went to Peru. And like I said, because I didn't put warm room temperature liquid ingredients. So they're looking not so, you're thinking, oh dear, they don't look very risen. But I've just had a look over in the oven. Matt, have a look in the oven.
Oh,
they're really rising. So Don't
They
be
look amazing.
deceived.
Yeah. So they,
Yeah.
well, I mean, the proof's in the pudding, and I think it's coming out now. So,
Yeah, so
I'm excited already. Just,
everyone's probably just going,
just get on with it. Let's do it.
but you know, this is the thing with us. We love cooking and we love food.
Yep.
And you know what? Anybody can use a Thermomix on the guided. If you're wanting to know the ins and outs, the tips and tricks, this is why it's good to join one of our specialty classes.
Yeah, because we don't necessarily follow everything from the book. As Deb said, we do like to adapt and play around with things. Yeah, I'm just going to get my strings tied up.
Yep.
Tied to my strings there. You can make any sort of jokes you like in the background. So yeah, just playing around with it. And look, I was impressed. I don't like to play around with recipes too much.
Because he's analytical.
Yeah,
and
I
he's
just
a
like to
scientist.
follow along
Where
pretty much
I'm
per se.
the
Which is why I love the cooking do so much. I don't even have to think about it.
And I'm going, right, let's
but I think this is again.
All right.
Right,
Okay.
let's get cracking.
Let's get cracking.
Let's
So,
get some buns in the oven. Whoa!
all right. Oh, look, my
No
Thermomix
keys
is
around.
switched off
Oh,
now.
yeah, that's
Okay.
Good Friday for you.
Now, what we're going to do is on mine, I'm going to just come around for a moment, waiting for it. I just wanted to show I've actually been one step further. I've actually made it a creative recipe because I made so much of an adaptation to the recipe that I'm following. I can actually then put it in as a creative recipe. Now, I will find out for you, but let me let you know that if you happen to do a recipe and you change about 3 things that it is quite substantial, it no longer is formed as that person's recipe. You can actually class it as your own recipe. So if you're making really quite changes to it, you know, take that. That's your recipe, you know, and add that to creative recipes. So I've gone into my recipes, and because I didn't want to keep looking at my cookbook, I put it on here, and I've put even the little cute, I know you can't see because of the glow, but I've put our little flyer that I did on, so I know exactly what I'm cooking there.
Awesome.
And when we're going into it, and if you haven't done a creative recipe before, definitely give it a go. It will give you a little bit of an idea of how the new TM7 is going to be. It isn't like your guided cooking going next. We go by ingredients and then press next. So, Matt, you can start adding what you're wanting to add.
So I'm gonna start by adding my off the screen here. So I'm gonna start by adding my dry ingredients into the bowl, and I'll talk a little bit about those, and then I'll be adding my wet ingredients and then mixing it up, and then mine actually has to sit for about 10 minutes because of the moisture content, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So I have got some of Deb's amazing gluten-free self-raising flour right there. That's 410 grams there, and I'm just going to whack that straight in. So that's my flour in there. I've also got some. I'm going to put in my. I've got my yeast and my sugar mixed together. Now we talked about the caster sugar before, so that is actually raw sugar, and I'll just milled that up.
Can you put in your psyllium husk first?
No, doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all goes in together. Deb's actually recipes she's mentioned asked about psyllium husks. Her psyllium husk process is a little bit different to mine, so she'll talk about that. Mine is all the dry ingredients, and I'm going with it because I've set the house such good results behind me. So this is the sugar and the yeast. So this is an easy bake yeast, so I don't have to just.
And we keep ours in the freezer.
We do.
Matt, don't worry, just put it on that side.
Excellent. Now, because I've just put the yeast in there, something else I do need to put in is salt a little bit later on. So I'm just trying to just keep the salt and the yeast separate. So we
mix it.
Yeah. So I've got my baking powder here. My xanthan gum and my psyllium husk. So I'm just gonna put that in there just to sort of help break that up a little bit. And I'm also going to put in my salt and my mix, my spice. Actually, my spice I'm choosing today is cinnamon. You could use a mixture of nutmeg and cinnamon. I've seen some recipes even use a little bit of ground cardamom as well.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's if you do the orange.
yeah, I reckon orange flavor. So if you were using like an IPA or even or another kind of ale, I reckon you could get away with using the cardamom. So cinnamon, I reckon it's going to go really well with the stout. So that's in there like that. Okay, I'm just going to do a little bit of a mix around on that. Just to sort of blend it up a little bit.
Oh, can you go behind and do that?
Have a look at that.
They've been training people.
I'm training, so I'm still learning how to read this backwards. You think I know how to do this because I can read it upside down being a school teacher. So I've got some milk here. So that's I'm just using almond milk, and I've already put a little bit of vinegar in that as well. Probably be good. I'll be interested to see how this one goes because that vinegar will have slightly curdled the milk. So interested to see how this one goes. So milk's going in. Now this, Deb didn't talk about this, but this is our homemade vegan butter. We made this the other day, and there's another clip about that. So this is melted. So that's just going.
And if you don't want to use that, Matt was going to use melted coconut oil. However, with my recipe, if you don't use plant-based butter, it does recommend olive oil. And personally, in either one, I would personally do olive oil, like a mild one, over the coconut oil.
Yep.
And the reason being, it will add to that crispness that you want to get on that outer shell of your hot cross bun there.
That's good.
Yeah.
The eggshell stayed out of that one, so that was
Yeah.
Easy. All right, so I'm putting my
So stop. You're not doing liquid, are you? You do it all in the bowl.
it all goes in together.
Okay, so you don't whisk all the liquid together first. Okay, can you just put a pause on that and let me get to my dry ingredients?
Absolutely.
Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm adding my flour, and I'm adding less flour than that for my gluten-free. I'm only adding 200 in mine, and bear in mind again, mine are a lot more. And then I'm adding the corn flour. So we're still got probably equal ratio of, well, how much was yours, Matt? 400 and something.
410 of
Yeah, mine's just under 400. Okay. And then I'm going to add my cinnamon and my salt and xanthan gum. And I'm going to add some cinnamon there. Oh, I don't bother with that. I just, I go, oh, yeah, that's one. And I do this deliberately because some people aren't pedantic cooks and some people are throwing cooks. And I'm going to just get and the reason again, I would have, if I was Matt, I would be mixing this just to ensure that salt is nowhere in contact with my eggs.
Yeah, so my I forgot to mention that my liquid is at room temperature. So I had mine out a little bit beforehand to keep it at room temperature. However, if you're in a bit of a rush, you could always warm up your milk and the beer if it's been in the fridge. You can warm it up manually in the Thermomix at 37 degrees. And that would be fine. You don't want it cold because you don't want it to.
I'm just changing the timer. I've just turned around my buns, and I'm just putting them on for a final 10 minutes. And there you go. All right.
All right. I'm just going to measure out my set.
Yeah.
So
so you want?
I can use this.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to step on this scale.
Yeah, now if you're wondering why he's doing it online, I've already got a lid on mine. Just hold on that. I haven't got the scales up. Yeah. You probably need to do it twice.
That's okay.
Yeah. And you need another 95.
95? Yeah, brilliant. Easy.
So then, you go.
Good, excellent. And the good thing about cooking with alcohol is you get to sample it along the way. Excellent. So that's my all my wet ingredients mixed in together, which is what I have got in with the dryer as well.
Do you want me to
And then I'm going to now these sultanas have been soaking. These currants, sorry, you could use sultanas, you could use raisins, it's up to you. I've used currants, about 100 grams of currants in there, and they've been soaking in alcohol as well. You could soak them in hot or boiling water as well. The idea is just to make them hydrate, and so that when they come out of the oven, they're quite juicy inside the bone. That's if you want to use fruit. Some people prefer to keep away from fruit.
That's me.
That's Deb. So hence I'm cooking with fruit today. So why not?
And are you going to strain that, the extra liquid?
Yeah, I probably should do.
This needs to strain a basket.
Yeah, absolutely.
So while he's straining, I'm going to go into doing my next step. I should have not got out of my recipe.
That's all right.
That's all right. That's the thing with create a recipe. If you go and do something else, you have to go back into the recipe, unlike your guided cooking, which will take you back. I wonder if they've changed that a little bit in the new TM7, soon to be. Okay, so no, this is not what I wanted. Okay, all right, yeah. So I'm using again my vegan butter. Like I said, I could be using oil. Now you probably wondering why I'm doing it on here. It's because I'm wanting to mix this all up, the liquid, before adding to the dish. I'm using 1 egg. Matt, do you want to get me the whisker?
Sure.
And I'm also adding my vegan baling, which is kind of frothed up as it is. So I'm going to just mix the egg a bit and just get all that. Look at all that vanilla there. Look at that. And coffee.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's all
I
right.
certainly like Benedict's mine.
Yeah. Yeah. How long do you have to mix yours for?
Just for a little enough to just get it mixed together. So I've got mine in reverse because I've got the currants in there. I should have mixed it before I put the currants in, but that's okay. So that's why I've got mine on reverse at the moment, so I don't mix up the currants too much.
Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to mix this on speed 5, and as we go, we're going to add this one.
Oh, it smells amazing. It smells next.
Now, just before I go any further, I have to do a real shout out to the TM6. As most of you know, there's an amazing deal, amazing bundle for the TM6. We know that a lot of people may be having a TM31 or TM5 and they're looking at upgrading and they just don't know whether to go for the TM6 or TM7. And a lot of it can be due to the colour. Like we do know that there's not going to be a white TM7 and a black, and that can be a make and break just for that. One thing I will say for those that are very manual cooking, the new sensor lid on the TM7, it has no hole. So for every bit that you're wanting to add look, if you're a looker and you're a person who adds as you're going along, you are really probably going to be more preference. Like the TM6 is amazing, but if you don't mind, then the TM7 is fine. You just will need to keep taking off the whole physical bowl a lid. And this has come about, you know, people may go, why? And that's frustrating. But, you know, unfortunately, about a year or two ago, you know, safety reasons, they've gone above and beyond to ensure. And it's also to protect their brand. A lot of people don't realise that there's become on the market all these unwarranted products that you can apply, insert in your Thermomix.
Which are not manufactured by Warburg.
No, and you know, the machine, you know, for the warranty and everything, they need to ensure that people are using the parts that are, you know, covered under warranty. So the sensor lid with the blockage will alleviate, and because it's got a sensor in the lid, for those other manufacturers to not take advantage or exploit a company that has such a reputable, and then any safety issues or anything, you know exactly where it, you know, where it fixes.
Yes, no, that's it. No,
now, that's going to show you. Look at this. For a gluten-free dough, look at that. That to me
that's incredible.
is beautiful.
I'm going to show you mine. I have to let mine rest for about 10 minutes before I need mine.
Yeah, ours are very different. We should show them up side by side.
So that's mine. And that one's the.
Come over in the light a bit more, Matt.
Yeah.
See, look at the difference.
That's incredible. Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's pretty amazing. I did have a poke around with mine with a spatula before.
Now I'm going into the next stage, and Matt, you might have to get my buns out and get yours in a minute.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm going to do next is I've got my psyllium husk. You know, we mentioned that mine's done differently, and we're going to bloom. It's almost like making an egg. And even though we've got one egg in, we'll have one egg in this. Unlike Matt, how many eggs did you have?
I just had one.
Oh, you had one?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why then. And the recipe in the book asks for straight water. I'm wanting coffee flavoured. I'm really wanting to enhance that Bailey. So I'm actually infusing it in, and I'm going to add a bit more water there. I forgot to weigh out the water. Oops. So hopefully I can always add extra water if I find my two. And you don't want this sitting for too long, because that's what I did with my first lot as well, and it got too thick that I kept on adding extra water, which you didn't really need to do. So that's gone like this. Looks a bit jelly-like. And so now what we're going to do is we add this into the bowl. Yeah, and look, unlike, you know, your flaxseed or your cherry, you don't need to really wait for that to bloom. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add to this on the guided recipe. We've got two dough options, and the first lot is just doing the coffee and the psyllium for 7 minutes, and we're going to go and check my bun.
I reckon the water one's done.
Oh yeah. Oh, yours look amazing. I'm going to show you that.
Yeah, so I frost. So I just crossed my buns. Just using I used to use the same one that Deb used. You don't have to use a chocolate flavored piping if you don't want to. You could just use a bit of flour, gluten-free flour, and a bit of water as well to make yours. But that's my
Okay. So these are, and I'm going to do a photo because the other batch I'm making now is at room temperature. So I'm really wanting to see if it's the liquid not being at room temperature or the actual Baileys that is probably affecting the yeast, but they still look incredible. So these are fully cooked now. They've just come out of the oven. I'm going to do a maple water glaze on them and let them sit for 10 minutes. I'm going to wait till they cool down before I put it on, because otherwise the maple's going to just glide right off. So
I forgot to mention on my cross buns, I meant to have done an egg wash on the top of it before I did my crossing. So I'm going to do that now.
Matt, you might want to check. He also has his own setting.
Yep. I'll put some.
Okay. All right. So are you still kneading, or have you finished your kneading?
I haven't started my kneading yet. I'm letting mine rest for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to start kneading.
Okay. So this is where our recipes are different. I'm doing the kneading, and then after I've done all my kneading, I let it rest for a little bit and then shape it. Are you doing the egg glaze?
I'm doing the egg glaze on
Oh, so you're not going to do nothing like we agreed to.
That's the glaze at the end of the cook. This is the egg wash before the cook.
Okay.
And I meant to, as I was saying, I meant to put the egg wash on before I did the piping, but that's okay.
I wonder, just with that, you could skip that. You could probably, like you said, you could, I don't know if you talked about doing a jam or a sugar, just going to the sugar glaze.
That's that's when you.
I know, but like you could boil, like if you didn't want, like if you're gonna swap vegan and make it vegan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's needing a bit more water. Because the way that we can tell is this is not moving as much. So I'm going to add a little bit of water just to, yeah. Okay. So while we're waiting and we're kneading, I guess there's some other things that we can talk about, Matt, while we're waiting.
Yeah. Okay.
So in May, Matt, you might want to stand behind your head. Keeps getting chopped off. You're a lot taller than me.
Is this 5.5 back for it?
We're going to be doing our transition training for the new TM7. We're very, very excited. Totally. And what's exciting now that Matt, he started his training, and he's happy if you're wanting, to have a cooking demo with him, wanting to see the TM6 or TM7. We've also got in Kapunda. So if you feel like, if you're in South Australia and you feel like a little bit of a drive, the To Be Nourished Cafe on the 8th of June, we're hopping in and we're going to be showcasing the TM7 so you can get up close and personal with that. So for those that wanting to see it as soon as it's released, that's a great way to be able to have a look. We hope to have different venues, and we'll definitely jump on and do a virtual when we get the machines.
Oh, yeah.
To add that. But also, we're here to support any users, whether you're TM31, TM5, TM6. Just remember, the phasing out of TM5 and TM31 parts are, like especially 31, are no longer in production. TM5, and we do know, even with the TM6, it's got quite a few years for the parts, but we will no longer be demonstrating the TM6 once the TM7 is out. So if you're really wanting to upskill, and perhaps you've already got a Thermomix and you don't have a consultant and you're wanting to learn some tips, you just need to invite 2 people and we can help you learn more to your kitchen style and get that experience, because after June the 2nd, we can no longer demonstrate or provide that other than just your general customer service. So if you're really wanting and you haven't had your demo from when you bought your TM6, yeah, definitely now's the time. And we do virtual.
Can you buy TM6s after June the 2nd?
No.
And it's an amazing deal on TM6. So if you're sort of on the fence, let me think, as Deb said before, if you're looking at TM31 and TM5 and you want to upgrade and think, do I go TM6, TM7? I mean, either machine is great. However, TM6 only until June the 2nd, they've got an amazing deal where you can get the glide board. You can get the slicer, you can get the spiralizer,
the cutter,
the extra bowl as well
and the
for your
extra
TM6.
bowl.
So you're getting about $1,000's worth of extra equipment.
and you can get it straight away
You
rather
get
than
straight away.
waiting.
You don't have to wait.
So
That's, if you're sitting on the fence about that, now is the time to really.
yeah,
consider that.
definitely. And just to note, just because we're saying it's available to the 2nd June, what we found when we released the TM5 to the TM6, they sold out. Because the reason why they need to sell out is we need to make room for the new model. You know, actually have the warehouse space for those. So what you'll probably find is we're getting to that point closer that the option, it may sell out. Okay, so I've done my 7 minutes dough with the psyllium, and then for the next minute, I haven't even added my sugar yet. So when was I supposed to add my sugar? I was probably supposed to have already added my sugar. I think my sugar was supposed to go in my dough. So don't worry. This is the thing with the mix. You can always kind of get it back. So I'm going to add that. And my chocolate. Matt, do we have a spare bowl? Can you find me?
Spare Thermomix bowl?
Spare Thermomix bowl. Can you just do that and get it done?
I'm trying to get my timer happening.
Well, you're still on the
Spare Thermomix bowl.
Yeah. So
Oh, the sunshine.
I'm going to shut that window.
No. Do you want just the chocolate?
Yeah. Oh, no, I mean, that's a fine. I need, don't worry, I'll chop it up. Okay. So I'm actually, can you move out like this? I'm actually going to chop up a block of chocolate. This is a cheap Aldi one. The reason I like this is because it's dairy free, this particular one. You could buy vegan chocolate drops and pay a fortune, but what you need to do is you need to make sure you cut it up as small as possible because it can affect the baking. So previously I'd actually just turboed the chocolate pieces in the Thermomix and then added it to the bowl, but I'm going to go over here while Matt's kneading. And Matt will have a bit of a chat more about doing what you're doing.
Doing what I'm doing, yeah. Okay, so what I've sorry, Deb, you're still, of course, you're still talking about noisy this is. That's something else to think about. The TM7, how noiseless it actually is. I mean, we went to a demo the other night, and we've been sitting there for nearly 3/4 of an hour. We knew there was a TM7 up on the stage behind the presenter. It had been covered with a black cloth. But when it was revealed to us, unbeknownst to us, for the last 45 minutes, that had actually been cooking away on speed 4, and we could not hear it, even though there were microphones up there on the stage as well. So it's an amazing adaptation that it created with the TM7. So now that I've had my dough mix time to sit and the moisture sort of like just sort of all being sort of sucked up as you will, I'm now going to knead my actual dough.
So the great thing about the TM is that you can just knead it. I know some people like to get their dough out and knead it by hand, and if that's your preference, that's fine. However, because we are cooking gluten free is a little bit trickier. The dough in a gluten-free dough is always going to be stickier than in a gluten dough. So let's let you get a machine to do the work, or why not? In the meantime, sneaky drink. So I've got that. This one's going to be kneading for about 9 minutes. When I work it, so as I said, I'm working from back to front. There we go. So while there's chopping hers is up, my first batch is in the oven at the moment. I'll put the egg wash on. Next time I'm going to put the egg wash on first, if that's okay. So they're sitting in the oven at the moment. I've got them on the middle shelf. Just at 180 degrees fan force. If you weren't using fan force, 200 degrees Celsius is fine for the gluten-free buns. So I'm wondering if anybody's getting any exciting thoughts about what sort of recipes they might be liking to adapt. Doesn't have to be an Easter themed recipe, but maybe you've got a favourite recipe of your own. A little bit closer because that Thermomix is really taken away. So I'm wondering if any of you got a favourite, maybe a family recipe that you're thinking, oh, I'd really like to be able to do that more often, but maybe times against you or whatever. This is where the TM6 or the TM7 is such an amazing tool to have in the kitchen. So I would never have considered maybe necessarily making Easter egg buns before this. Easter egg buns. I keep calling them Easter egg buns. I've been doing that all weekend. Hot cross buns. Yeah, you can.
He keeps on standing there with his head cocked off. And he's looking, and he does.
I was trying to spot and everything, but that's okay. Yeah, wow.
And this point is where I add my next.
Yeah, okay.
So very different.
Well away from salt.
Yeah, well away. And then and just leave that. Excited?
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Can't wait to see how these ones go. Yeah. Oh, normally it's hard to shut me up. I have to send my own voice.
So when you're looking forward to being
I think being able to, now that I've adapted this kind of a recipe, I'm looking to see what other kinds of recipes I'd like to be able to adapt. One thing I noticed, and dare I say this in 2025, but when we went to the TM7 launch the other night, I noticed there was an amazing lack of males there in the room. I think I only counted about 3 males. No, sorry, 4 males, including the presenter, but flown out from Austria. He now lives in Australia, and good for him. But I was just thinking, I mean, there are so many men out there who do like to cook, and I know there are professional chefs out there who do use it Thermomix. And it sort of got me thinking, I mean, what sort of recipes, from a male perspective, could be used in the Thermomix and into soups as well.
I think what it is also, and what Matt's probably trying to get around saying, is that men, when they look at the Thermomix, they tend to be wanting to be a meat and 3 veg type of person, or they like their meat and they go, you can't put meat in there. And Matt will tell you about my amazing curry beef stir fry that was, if you want to watch, go to our YouTube channel. And it was like my daughter said, why do we need Asian tucker anymore? Which is that used to be our Chinese restaurant. They're no longer, because literally it tasted like what?
It did. It was like wok toast, and there was no wok in sight.
And the tenderness.
And the tenderness. It was just an amazing, just a bit of cheap beef fillet. Just got from the supermarket. Sometimes like the beef fillet thing, it can be a little bit dodgy, a little bit chewy. But the tenderness, it was incredible.
And especially when families are really needing to make a real change because of electricity prices, everything's going. Yes, a lot of people go, I don't have the outlay. There's different, and that's one thing I will say is those that get the TM7 are only the pre-sale. They're the first ones in. Will get them. The others may need to wait a bit in relation to when the next fitment comes, right? So you're getting all caught up in it, and yes, you have to wait. Where if you purchase a TM6, you can get that straight away.
And if you're looking at say doing it something like if you run a business which is food related, you can claim it. You can claim it as a tax
Before
deduction.
July and
So
the
before
TM7.
30%. So you can claim it as a tax deduction. So
Back to what we're cooking,
That's
hot cross buns. So I needed this. Now this is I'm gonna go and put this outside for 5 minutes, just so it can really before I shape it. So it's going out to rest. So now Matt, maybe you can show them a feature that you like on the TM6.
I'm too scared if I press it. I'm going to do something with it. No, if I'm using say a recipe, you might have had some little dings and things going off before. So at the moment I've got the buns in the oven. I have to say that one. But if I wanted to have that on timer while I'm cooking something else, which I'm doing now, what I really love is being able to do the drop down. You probably can't see that really, really well on here, but you might have just seen that little drop down tab happen there. I can set a timer on there if I want to. At the same time, it'll also show me what part of the recipe that I'm up to at the same time. So that's something that I really love about using the TM6 and my big clunky phones.
I'm going to just say, most people who have teams will understand the only thing, it's neither here or there. You've got these amazing brushes. If you haven't already got one, I highly recommend it. You've got TM6, where it cleans all the dust from the housing. I am so looking forward to the TM7. I personally am looking forward to no arms. Today, when I was making my flour, I was sifting the flour over the bowl as I was spraying it in, and I had flour going everywhere. And admittedly, when I had flour going everywhere anyway, but trying to clean the insides of these, it just takes a little bit more time. You can get used to it, but I am very much in anticipation of no arms.
I've got about another 10 minutes there. I've set that to about 20-25 minutes. So I'm going to check that in a little while. I'll see how that goes, because that oven was already pretty hot to begin with. Right. So that's my dough finished kneading now. I had that just for about 9 minutes just on knead. I'm going to now roll those. I'm going to divide that up and form those into buns. Put them into a prepared tray, and then I'm going to set those outside to brew for about 60 minutes to 90 minutes.
Oh, where's the other bowl? What's in that one? What's in that bowl there? Is that dirty?
Yeah, it's all dirty.
Okay, I'm going to just zap this. It's a bit of maple and water. And I'm just going to glaze my, but if I didn't use all my bowls, my 4 bowls, I would definitely be doing this in the thermi, just like making it into a syrup. Okay. How long is this going?
Another 10 minutes for mine.
Okay, with the other tray. Oh, not gonna worry. Okay. So we're basically at the part where you've been making them. Like mine have got 5 minutes resting, and then mine are actually scooped out with a spring form ice cream scoop to get the shape. Just get, because my batter's a lot more wet than matte, so you just do that. And what I did to kind of help it get its shape is I just wet my hands after and just kind of went around the edges just to make it kind of smooth. And then I had to keep it warm for 30 minutes. Now, if it's not warm enough, what you can do is I cheat. I put water in my Thermomix. I put it on Varoma and I stick the baking tray with the loose glad wrap or some kind of, we like using those. Can you go and grab it? They're a greener wraps, and they're those reusable kind of glad wraps. And we just put these over the top, and it kind of actually, we found that I use glad wrap and Matt used one of those. And we noticed that when you use those ones, it really keeps the warmth in a lot better than the glad wrap. So if you're knowing how to get hold of these are highly recommended, and they're better for the environment, using less plastic.
And then we washable ones as well.
And yeah, we just throw them in the washing machine, or we can wash them with a bit of dishwashing detergent. So yeah, they're really good. Now, Matt, how long did you say? Sorry, I'm missing. Can you just stop for a moment?
Yeah.
How long have they got? Because they smell like they're cooked.
They've got about another 6 minutes.
Okay, did you factor in that this is electric and it does kind of beat up?
I'll check it.
Because let's have a look.
You know what you can do?
What?
I didn't do my water bath underneath those. I was supposed to do a water bath underneath.
Why don't you
So
quickly
I'm
do it
going to do
now?
that now.
Yeah.
I'm just going to get a little tray of water. What I should have done is have a tray of water underneath it
Yeah.
and steamed it. And if they are browning a little bit too quickly, and I think mine are,
Oh,
you can put a bit of wrap over the top, or
I
a bit
think
of
you better do that.
or a bit of elk foil over
Yeah,
the top of that as
I
well.
think he's going to do that now, because I can smell, being a perfumer, I just know when something's cooked. It's just, all right, now, Matt, bring them out so you can put this on. Or,
Sorry. So,
right. What are you doing?
I'll put it down because I'm not going to take the bare hands.
Oh,
I'm good, but I'm not acting.
there's a cat right there. Yeah, so what I'll do at the end of this, for those that registered for the event, you will get the replay sent to you. You will also, for those that registered, will get the recipes and the links that we've actually utilized. And we would love your feedback if you really took something away from our cook. If you enjoy watching us banter and laugh in the kitchen, definitely like us. If you watch this on our YouTube channel, like and share. Be sure, because at the moment, we're trying to get those likes up so that we can jump on live
And
a lot
we
more.
can keep doing things like this.
Yeah.
For your food, basically to help you guys. So
Yeah, so hopefully I'll go and check my maple. Can you get the little brush from there?
Yep. The brush.
So,
So, yeah, there you
oh,
go.
now, okay.
Yep, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Now,
That's good.
What?
The off form.
No. You haven't shown yes.
No, I haven't taken one. Yeah, another few more minutes just to cook there. I'm about to go and form the dough into.
Oh, you don't
into
need to do
buns.
that right now.
No, that's okay. There's a few different techniques that you can use. Well, the main technique when you, particularly because you're using gluten-free dough mix, as Deb said, use wet hands. That when you separate your clumps of dough and you form them into balls, you'll find that one side will get really smooth and one side will get quite sort of like lumpy. So if you have one side smooth, a little way to do to sort of get around that is if you cut the dough gently in your hand and then just roll it around on the surface. That should smooth out the base of your bun. It's just so that it looks a little bit more uniform. I was going to try and demonstrate, but I won't worry about that. Won't worry about that now. So yeah, so no, this has been really exciting, and hopefully you can see that you might have a preference over either one of the recipes that we've shown to you today, but I think what's incredible about using the Thermomix is that there are so many recipes out there that you can adapt to suit your particular eating lifestyle. Here comes Deb's buns of that.
So look,
amazing! Can't
look
wait
at
to
that.
get some of those. A little bit of vegan butter onto those.
Well, we can actually do that now, Matt, because these have been sitting for a while. I know I've just got my gloves on, but like drying quite nicely. So
That's
I'll cut one of these.
Yeah.
You get the vegan butter.
Absolutely. Watch this space.
We'll have a little. Oh, they look beautiful inside. I'm just going to show that up to the light.
Wow, look at that. Yeah, hard to
We
believe.
just need some probably better lighting.
Hard to believe that.
Where's that light then?
Wow, that is hard to
Okay.
believe that is gluten free.
And look, nice and soft.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, Matt, bring it over here.
Yeah. Right. I was going to say, if you're free this afternoon, you can come around to our place for gluten-free Easter buns, and you might have to bring some coffee because we're just going out of coffee machines and shops are shut. Wow, look at that. So Deb's just putting on some vegan butter. She's going to show that to you in a moment. But that's incredible to think. I mean, when you think about the price that you have to pay for gluten-free and vegan products in the store. What we've just done, and we've had a lot of fun doing it, haven't we, Deb?
Yeah.
What we've just done there
You can have that one. And I'll
is-
bite this and I'll give you.
is it's been quite incredible.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Try this.
You get that chocolate crumble through.
Try it.
Yeah, my goodness. Mm.
What do you think?
I think they're incredible. Now, about storing these.
Oh, yeah. Now with mine,
Right, that's just my alarm.
close it.
Yeah.
You're going to be in an airtight container for 3 to 4 days. They literally say after the second day, you really just want to toast it. You can keep it in the fridge for 5 days. It doesn't
If they
actually
keep that
mention
long.
the freezer. I wouldn't even freeze them though.
Yeah, you probably could. Yeah, you could probably freeze them. Just
Oh,
let them
yum,
thaw
yum.
out. Yeah, no, that's incredible.
Our kids would.
Too bad they're not here, Deb. My goodness. Oh well.
How long are yours?
I'm about to take mine out, so I'll see how they are. I'm pretty excited about mine. I must admit.
Yeah.
The dog's excited as well. It's hanging around the oven. Wow.
Yeah, Matt. Probably this one.
Yeah.
Not this one, this one.
I'm just
Yeah.
just gonna check it. That's okay.
Oh. Oh. Oh, they would. Well, let me see. Right, yeah, it's this and this, and show it up.
Yeah.
You want to put this on? Oh, wait.
Oh, that's your glaze. Wow. So they're just putting that that glaze on there. Now, if you don't have maple syrup, you could use a really smooth jam. So not something that doesn't have a whole lot of clumps in it. Yeah, or you can make up like a little sugar syrup to put the glaze on your hot cross buns once they've come out of the oven. Don't have to do it, of course. It just adds to that kind of like that shine. That shine appeal, just to make them aesthetically pleasing. Wow, look at that. That's incredible.
That looks nice. Show that. Oh.
So these are my hot cross buns here. Just need to make yeah, I'm just trying not to burn my hand. Now they do look a little bit brown on top, and that's partly to do with the egg wash, and that's partly because I didn't put the foil on or the cover on straight away. After the first 10 minutes.
Yeah. So,
but I'm going to be I've got another batch there. So when that's done, I'll be interested to see the comparison between the two. Yeah, I'm going to have to squat. There we go.
all right.
Yes,
So, thanks very much for joining us.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
It's been an
Matt.
absolute pleasure, my darling. Can't wait to get back in the kitchen with you again.
Yeah.
More buns in the oven.
We would like some ideas, like you're wanting to learn something with your Thermi, or you're wanting us to put something to the test.
Yeah.
Let us know. Give us some suggestions.
Yeah.
But we hope to see you at our next cook with Together We
Remix.
Right, so that's me done. So now you're going on to your liquid.